In Antarctica, a group of scientists are drilling the ice to get core samples. As the drill goes down, the ice starts to crack under their camp, and soon the drill starts to sink. Jason almost falls into the hole too, but Jack and Frank catch him just in time. Then Jack risks jumping over the crack to retrieve the samples, and when he jumps back, the ice breaks under his feet, and he falls. Thankfully, he manages to use an axe to hold on, and his friends bring him back up to watch how the entire ice shelf is breaking. Sometime later, Jack attends the UN conference on global warming in New Delhi to tell all the world leaders that the Earth will go through a new ice age, which will freeze everything on the planet. When the politicians ask how much time is left, Jack explains that it may take some centuries, but if they don't stop using fossil fuel soon, their grandchildren will face the consequences. Unfortunately, the politicians point out this would cost lots of money and call Jack's speech sensationalist claims outside the building. People are protesting against climate change, and a reporter comments on the snow, which never happened in this area before, and is sending the city into chaos after the conference. Jack meets Terry, who works for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Terry agrees with Jack's points, and they leave together to share theories. A few days later, at Terry's monitoring station in Scotland, an employee notices that a buoy is showing a huge temperature drop, but his coworker just thinks a strong wave must have knocked it about. When Terry comes back, they don't tell him about it in Japan. It seems to be a normal rainy day, when suddenly huge hailstones start falling from the sky, destroying vehicles and buildings, and even killing a few people in the USA. Reports about Hurricane Noan have taken weather experts by surprise. This is the strongest hurricane ever recorded and is killing hundreds of people at the International Space Station. The astronauts are shocked to notice unusual gigantic storms forming in the Earth's sky. Meanwhile, Jack's son Sam is flying to New York with his friend Brian and his crush Laura. Sam is afraid of flying, and he only gets even more nervous when the plane enters the huge storm, which causes it to shake. Suddenly, the pilot announces they'll go through some turbulence, so everyone fastens their seatbelts and holds tight as the shaking gets worse and bags begin falling all over the quarter. Thankfully, it doesn't last long, and Sam realizes he's holding Laura's hand, so he has to let go when they make it to New York. They're surprised to see a large group of birds flying west, almost as if they were escaping from something. In fact, animals in farms and zoos are also behaving strangely, as if they were afraid Sam and his friends go to the competition and do quite well. But Sam can't help noticing that a boy from another school called JD keeps on flirting with Laura. Later in the monitoring station, Terry finally notices the buoy registering the drop in ocean temperature. The employee tells him what he saw the other day, but they soon discover multiple buoys are in the same report, meaning it's not a malfunction. Terry decides to call Jack and tell him his theory is occurring at a great speed, which hasn't happened since the last ice age. 10,000 years ago. The only forecast model capable of plotting this scenario is Jack, while newscasts inform that Hurricane Noan is getting worse and the Coast Guard closed the beaches. A technician in a weather monitoring center in California is getting busy with his girlfriend instead of working. She suddenly hears a noise and gets scared. But it turns out to be the janitor at that moment. The phone rings, and the technician gets a distress call from a reporter in LA, who reveals that it's raining hailstones, the size of golf balls. The technician checks the TV and learns that a tornado is starting to form in LA. So he calls his boss to warn him. The man goes outside and discovers the tornado is bigger than average. Back to Jack. He and his co-workers watch the reports of the news helicopters, which are filming how several tornadoes are forming very quickly around LA and destroying everything in their path. People panic and try to get away, but even large vehicles are blown away, and soon buildings start to crumble too. The Weather Monitoring Center is also hit and barely gets to stand on the ruins afterward. Soon, the president orders the suspension of all air traffic, but 2 planes don't get back in time and crash in the Midwest. An emergency meeting is conducted at the Office of Global Change in Washington, D.C., and they share reports of strange and violent weather from all over the world. Thanks to Terry's confirmation, Jack can explain that this is happening because of the North Atlantic currents, which are affected by the polar ice that is melting due to